From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie Devil Girl from Mars, released in 1954. Starring Hugh McDermott, Hazel Court, and Peter Reynolds. Directed by David MacDonald. The synopsis is, a female extraterrestrial from Mars, Naya, comes to Earth seeking men to save her species from extinction. My shorter reviews are often spoiler-free, but I must warn you that there are going to be some light spoilers in this review because there's a lot I want to discuss about the film. Devil Girl from Mars originated as a play from John C. Mather and James Eastwood, released by British Lion Films. The idea for the film came from Mather when he was working with American brothers Edward J. and Harry Danziger, who produced many British films and TV shows in the 1950s and 60s. They also produced this film as well. And that's perhaps why the British production has an American appeal to it, with many of the actors speaking in American accents and feeling reminiscent of many B sci-fi classics, like The Day the Earth Stood Still, which it quite blatantly and heavily emulates. In both movies, a humanoid alien visits Earth in a flying saucer with a monstrous-looking robot that's an unstoppable power. Then there's the religious implications of both films. The alien in The Day the Earth Stood Still is meant to represent the innocence of Christ, whereas the alien in this film is meant to represent an evil version of Christ's mother, Mary, with a desire to repopulate her kind and bring destruction upon the earth. It's also revealed in the fact that the title laughably uses the word devil to describe the antagonist. This is a really intimate and modest production, shot in 3 weeks, no retakes, and very low budget. The whole thing appears to be shot in 2 to 3 rooms and a soundstage, much like a play. There was a lot of attention to creating a sense of drama and suspense through lighting and music. Now, the music was a bit interesting because the composer, Edwin Astley, reused his score from the 1950s detective series, Sabre of London. And it's quite possible that they used this music since there was so little money for the production. Much of the action in the film is very slow moving, with minimal special effects, carried by mounds of exposition to tell most of the story. Now, strangely enough, it starts out with a convict, Albert, escaping from prison and finding refuge with an old girlfriend who works at an inn in the countryside of Scotland. We get a variety of characters conveniently in the inn, with the soap opera style subplots swirling around to help pad out the runtime. The alien flying saucer crash lands nearby, trapping them all inside. The alien Nala presents herself to the panicking characters at the inn and tells them flat out of her plan to take the male Earthlings back to Mars. I love the fact that she's so direct and she speaks a lot about her character. But it really isn't a smart tactic to use on sentient beings, even if she thinks that they're too dumb and powerless to stop her. I think we could all agree that a smarter tactic for an invader would have been to appear to be under the guise of peace, gaining their trust, and then ultimately doing a terrible thing. Now, her arrogance is really her downfall in the film. but in turn it does offer the audience a great deal of entertainment through her pompous exposition. Her dialogue is so pretentious, for lack of a better term, priceless. I absolutely loved every moment with Naya on screen. Now, Naya's look is one of the most interesting and striking things about this film that caught my attention right away. She is played by Patricia LaFan, who wears the incredibly constructed PVC costume, which was horribly uncomfortable. Patricia was limited in what she could do and what she couldn't do in the contraption, but she made it remarkably impressionable on film. The design was credited to Ronald Cobb, but some other sources say that it was designed by British fashion designer and fetish photographer John Sutcliffe, using the name Ronald Cobb as an alias. The costume is quite bold, and it bears a resemblance to Darth Vader's from Star Wars, released in 1977. George Lucas has been rumored to have received many inspirations for his films from B movies of this era, so Naya could be a direct influence. We're not sure. Even the body language and tone of voice matches the two characters, which I thought was very interesting. While watching Patricia LaFan's performance of this character, I can see how specific she is choreographing her movements, and it's spellbinding to watch this in action. The way she walks and kind of pauses before she turns away, and she's kind of beaming with this dynamic charisma. This is the lasting and timeless appeal of the film, and I believe this was a fantastic performance given for what she had to work with. Naya is a strong female character cladded with a dominatrix look, which I love so very much. She, as well as the premise of the film, is definitely a male fantasy. Is that terrible? I don't think so. At the time, there were several B movies that were obsessed with the theme of all women's societies from other worlds. And they all seemed to need Earth men to restore their ranks. It's a hilarious premise, but one of the few chances that young girls of the era and decades later could see powerful women of rank in sci-fi. One of the things that hurt the film is the predictable dialogue and how awful the human characters were written. They were all mostly forgettable, except two characters, Albert the convict and Michael the heroic news reporter, who acts too bold and drinks too much. The two are at odds immediately with each other, which leads up to a wild, gut-wrenching, knockdown, drag-out fight between the two that makes very little sense when it happens. You just know it's going to happen, and it goes on for a long, long while. What also hurts the film is most of the formulaic repetitiveness of Naya entering the inn's barroom, threatening the humans, leaving the humans alone to plot and plan against her to no avail. For the deadly danger that they're in, it seemed that the characters were written to be unrealistically calm about what's happening to them. And that's probably why it's really so hilarious to see this film, because you can't believe the actions between the characters. It's really kind of funny. I mean, it's a bad film, but a good in a funny way. It's definitely entertaining and gives me chuckles every time I see it. Now, the reception in 1954 was really bad. But along the way, there seemed to be many youngsters who were influenced by the film, such as Nebula award-winning author Octavia Butler. Since the dawn of video, fans of this oldie kept the flame for it alive and made it a cult classic. I absolutely love this cute little movie, and I'm not sure that there are others that would share my sentiments, so I'll just say that this is truly my guilty pleasure. My rating is a 6.8. Now that sums up my quick, almost spoiler-free review. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.